Hi guys, what's up? It's Will back once again for another fight card prediction. We're here for UFC 284 from the land down under, as we have two really big title fights for this pay-per-view here. As the featherweight interim title is on the line, and Alexander Volkanovski, the current UFC featherweight champion, pound for pound number one guy in the world, moves up to try and capture another belt as he faces off against the UFC's lightweight champion Islam Makhachev, in a fight I'm really looking forward to. And I'm actually kind of having struggles kind of with the match a little bit, because I actually think that there's a lot of people writing off Volkanovski, and I'm not one of those people. But like I say, that's a fight we will get into in the not too distant future. Just I want to say thank you for everybody who's reached out. Really happy that I'm back into kind of making videos week in and week out. If you could hit that thumbs up, it's massive for myself. So I really do appreciate it. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe and share, or whatever you can do. Leave a comment. I want to know who you guys' most confident pick is for UFC 284. And there's some decent matchups throughout that I'm kind of looking forward to as well. So we'll get into the card. We'll have a little look there. Like I say, I think it's really top heavy, obviously, with your two title fights up top. But like I say, they've got some fights scattered throughout that I like. There's some people on there that I'm looking forward to seeing, like having step up in competition, seeing if they're going to make that step up and kind of move to the next level in their career. So yeah, let's get into this fight card here. I'm just going to bust over onto Topology and go from there. So let's go at the bottom of the card and we'll make our way up there. So we're against first fight of the night in the featherweight division. We've got Zubara Tuhugov against Elvis Brenner, fighting out of Diego Lima shooter box in Brazil here. And you know what those guys at the shooter box, like what they bring. They bring hard, intense fights. Don't usually have the best kind of gas tanks. You'll see Elvis here, 13-3 record, coming out there in Brazil. Most of his wins via submission, as you can see here, rear naked choke, arm bar there. What I kind of liked about him is just his aggression, but you get that from the gym that he comes from. It's just a straight out aggressive gym where they come try and take heads off. They've introduced us to some new fighters within the UFC in the last couple of years with Simon Oliveira and Daniel Wildcat Santos. I think it's one there. He's a really, really good fighter that I like watching, and cashed a really nice bet on him last time. But like I say, I think he's coming in. I want to say he's coming in fairly short notice. I can't remember the opponent that Tuhugov was supposed to have went ahead and fought. But like you say, you can see where this guy really excels is when it's on the ground, when he's in a kind of dominating position. His striking is not overly bad. It's not great. You know, with the shooter box guys, they're super aggressive. They will come forward. They will look to throw more than like single strikes. And but the thing that I kind of don't really like is obviously his cardio. Kind of once the fight kind of goes a little long, he kind of gasses a little bit. He can be taken down. He can be kind of controlled a little bit. He can be outstruck. So when you look at the Tuhugov side, I've never been overly kind of comfortable and confident in Tuhugov. I mean, he's 20-5-1 is his record. You'll see there my predictions 4-3, so I'm a bit iffy on him from a pick standpoint. Joel Alvarez, that was the guy who's supposed to fight there, and he's had a reign of fights, really mixed, been nixed. Sorry, Lucas Almeida, Nate Landwehr, they would have been good, aggressive kind of fights for him to really kind of test him, because they guys are hard to kind of put away. And I know Tuhugov, he has a little bit of trouble kind of making 145 with his last win coming over Ricardo Ramos, which was coming on a couple of years ago now. But solid. I think he throws a nice jab out there, doesn't really throw in combination, looks to really try and get the fight to the ground. Last finish was Kevin Aguilar, as you can see there. I just think that the experience and the minute winning is probably going to be big in this part. I think that Elvis could come out really, really quick, really looking to try and put the fight on Tuhugov. But ultimately, I've got Tuhugov winning that fight. I think that he just wins a pretty dominant decision, wins a couple of rounds. May lose the first round, but ultimately, I've got him to win this via decision there. moving on, Blake Bilder against Shane Young. Now, when I looked into this, I was actually really looking forward to seeing what Blake Bilder is all about, because people are going to, I've seen it already, and we're only in Monday evening we are now, where people are like, oh, he's facing Shane Young, so it must be a fade. And I was like, right, okay, let me have a look at this guy and see what I kind of think, what's going on here. Like I say, he's only 7-1, but I was like looking into this, thinking of potential betting opportunity. I seen he was the favourite at that time. He's now moved to the underdog. But I watched these 3 fights here, and I mean, he's got 3 finishes on his record, but I just was not overly impressed at all. When you watch this fight, the fight here, he thoroughly loses the first 8-9 minutes of that fight. He's been held on his back, he's being controlled, manages to throw a triangle choke up there. And what I will give this guy credit for is the fact that he's a little bit of a slow starter, but he seems to just find a way to get finishes, which is like massive in any fighters and a cap in anybody's hat to have that sort of thing. It was the same in the Carvalho fight. It was a kind of close-ish fight. I think he was doing enough to win, but ultimately he got the kill shot in the third round, and got the finish. And then the Alex Morgan one, he just kind of got the opportunity to take the back there, and once he took it, it was done. It was done for. So moving over to Shane Young, he, like I say, he's had a bit of a rough task in his last couple of fights. You'll see that Omar Morales, Ludovic Klein. To me, I could not believe that Ludovic Klein was an underdog going into that fight there. Out of City Kickboxing. Big fight for him down under, because we know if he loses this one here, he is in a lot of trouble. He probably doesn't get kept around in the UFC. So this is a massive. When you look at his wins, not taking anything away, because these are pro fighters, guys, but they're no longer in the UFC. Rolando D, Austin Arnett, and like I say, his last win is coming over 4 years ago. So this is a massive, massive fight for him. Where I kind of think he can win this fight, obviously the experience side of things, I actually think he can outstrike Blake Bilder in this fight. Blake is probably, I want to say, the harder hitter of the two, probably can grapple a little bit, but I think that if Shane Young can initially stop some early takedowns, not being kind of clinched against the fence, just not really be pushed back, I think that he can come out here and win a decision. So, like I say, I was coming into this fight, I was going to go Blake Bilder. I just wasn't super impressed with him. But like I say, he is still fairly young in his career. He might come out here, show his improvements. He's not fought in a little bit. Watched a couple of interviews him with James Lynch, and he was looking to kind of get in there beforehand and never really got the opportunity. So I'm sure he's probably improved and everything there. My pick in this one is going to be Shane Young. I've got him be a decision. I just think that the experience, the UFC experience shows here, and he kind of keeps himself in a job here in this one. So up next, we've got Luca Lupinits against Elise Reed. I'm seeing a little bit of love for Elise Reed, and I can see like Loma's betting line, I think, is a little high. Outside of maybe pure punching power, and maybe size a little bit, I think that I just don't see Elise Reed maybe doing enough. Not unless you can clinch up, throw some shots, but once you do that, you're really clinching with Loma Lupinits, like Muay Thai specialist who can throw knees up the middle, who can really hurt you with those shots. And on the feet, I don't think she's got as much power as Elise, like I said, but she is a girl who will throw in combinations, will throw leg kicks, doesn't really throw singular shots. Like I say, I did all right picking her fights, 5-0 there. And she's coming off that win over Denise Gomez. She's not really going to finish you, not unless she hits you with the absolute perfect shot. She's an output fighter who I actually been fairly impressed with her UFC tenure, because I think a lot of people coming here, people try to challenge her grappling a little bit, and she has been taken down kind of sparsely here and there. But the people that you think she would beat, your Jin Euphraise, your Sam Hughes, your Denise Gomez, she has done that. And I want to put Elise Reed in that kind of territory of fighters in that one there. But she's also coming over a win over Melissa Martinez. We see she's dropping these fights, win one, lose one, win one, lose one. So she might be one of those fighters in the UFC that probably predominantly goes on and does that. Lost to Sam Hughes, she really got tired out, got held down, got absolutely smashed with elbows and got taken out. And then Sajara Eubanks, she was just a big girl. far too big and far too good in the ground. So for me, I just think Luke Bumi keeps on the feet. If outwithstanding getting hit with a heavy shot, I think that she comes out here, does enough, maybe 29-28. But I'm going to pick Luke Bumi for the W there. Moving on, we have Jack Jenkins, another newcomer at the UFC, fighting Don Sheeness. And again, when I seen this one, I was like, I'm really looking forward to looking at Jack Jenkins. I knew a little bit about him because I watched the fight. It was just a random time I was watching Eternal MMA, and he was the champion in that promotion. So I remembered him a little bit there. And then he made his way into the Contender Series and got a contract through there. When I went back and watched majority of his fights, there is things that I really do like about him. I like his leg kicks. I love the way he works the body. He really does work the body very well. Can throw a really nice high kick off a combination, fight at distance, really keep you against the cage and pot shot you with some shots. And like I say, he mixes up with low kicks, with body shots, going with a high kick, and thoroughly. He's got a really good feints. He can counter a little bit. He's not a bad fighter. I thought I was going to be a little bit more impressed with him, and I think. I don't know whether he's got a super high ceiling in that featherweight division in the UFC is probably what I'm saying, but he's got himself a very, very easy, I don't want to say easy, a very good matchup here on Don Sheeness, where I think if Don can't get the fight to the ground, where I think that he probably needs this fight to be, I just don't think that he's going to have much success. I mean, you have seen some of his wins here. He's against this guy who's got GLS 16-104, but that's probably different now. Win over Cody Fister. He's a former UFC vet, so that's not the worst in the world. Came in there against Sadiq Youssef, kind of got blown out in that one there. So he's not a bad fight. I just don't think he's great. I just don't see where he really outmatches Jack Jenkins in this one here. So Jack Jenkins to me is actually a really good parlay piece. I think he was like minus 310 over here in the UK. I really like some of the things that he does, but I thought I would have been a little bit more impressed. But maybe I'm just thinking too much about the ceiling in the UFC, and instead of just looking at this fight just one time fight at a time. So Jack Jenkins to me, I think he's one of my most confident picks in the card. Like I say, if you're looking for a parlay piece, and I know my parlays this year especially have been absolute dog doo-doo, he's a guy I'm looking at trying to parlay up a little bit and seeing how it goes there. But I think this will be a win for one of the Aussies down under, and he kind of really jacks that crowd up. I think he can get a finish here. I think he beats Sheeness inside the distance. Moving on, we've got Jamie Malarkey against Francisco Prado, and there's a ton of fights out there on Prado in the kind of Argentine side, Argentine kind of regional scene that you can go and watch. And I've kind of got a funny feeling with this one. We had that fight UFC 283 where Gregory Rodriguez and Bruno Ferreira, I think his name was, and Bruno come out there and nuked him. And I just had that feeling, and it was just Gregory Rodriguez, the way he fights sometimes. And I kind of get that a little bit with Jamie Malarkey here. I mean, he's 11-0 undefeated. Some of the things I like was I liked his striking. I liked his ground and pound. I like that he can mix up and get takedowns. I like that he can be the aggressor. Like I say, all these fights are all on YouTube, so you can go and watch them all. I mean, he's not fighting the greatest caliber opposition, but he's beating the guys that he's supposed to beat, and getting stoppages in the majority of them. I've seen him come in with stepping knees and hurting guys. Like I say, he's got a Von Flu on there. His ground and pound, like I say, is fantastic. But I do think he is a very, very kind of green fighter in his career. And this is a major step up to be facing someone like Jamie Malarkey, who I really like watching him fight. I think he's a really solid guy. Wish he kind of maybe slow things down, kind of fight a little bit, not kind of tooth and nail a little bit, just go out there, maybe tie the guy up, win minutes, but he comes out there and he's looking to finish, and I suppose that's not the worst thing in the world. Coming off that win over Michael Johnson, particularly a very, very close fight. I bet on the Jalen Turner one, and when I watched that fight initially live, I was like, oh, that wasn't a great bet. I had money on him. I think he was underdog. But he actually hurt Jalen Turner. If you watch that, he kind of wobbled him. And Jalen Turner's a guy moving up that heavy lightweight division. I still think he's very kind of vulnerable. As much as I really like his talent, his skill set, I still think he's very vulnerable in that top 15. But he's going to get himself a big fight soon. I think he's matched up with someone, Dan Hooker, I want to say. So that's going to be a fun fight whenever they come around. And then he's got finishes there over Camilworthy and Devonta Smith. Camilworthy doesn't really have much of a chin, so he caught him with that left hook and put him to the ground. And then you've got Devonta Smith, who is really he was a fraud, honestly. He's not good. I love the tenacity. I love just the all-around game of Jamie Malarkey, but like I said, I don't know what it is with this Prado guy. I feel that he could catch Malarkey. If Malarkey comes out here and just is straight shooting shots down the middle, just pinging him with shots, it would not surprise me if this Francisco Prado guy comes out here and just initially catches him with a shot. So Malarkey, I see at minus 250. I can kind of see why people will maybe use him as a parlay piece. I can see that. To me, I'm going to kind of stay away from betting him this week. But ultimately, I think as a pick, I'm going to pick Jamie Malarkey in that one there to kind of keep the Aussies winning and keep himself kind of getting 2 wins in a row. Is a big statement to kind of be moving forward in that one there. This is my only bet I have in the card. Yair Rodriguez 7-2 against Shannon Ross 13-6. And I'll come out and say, guys, I don't really know why Shannon Ross is in the UFC. He had a great, entertaining fight on the Dana White Contender Series, but that guy ate some howitzers from Salvador, I think his name was. I'd never seen Shannon Ross beforehand, but you can find his fights on UFC Fight Pass. You can find some on YouTube. And like I say, I don't think he's long for the UFC, in my opinion. Like I say, he showed a lot of heart, durability, grit, determination in that fight with Salvador, but ultimately he was getting blasted out. In the second round, he kind of came into it a little bit, but I think the guy is very susceptible to being hit by decent strikers, fast strikers. I think Yair Rodriguez has got a major speed advantage here where he's going to hit him with some big shots from the get-go. I also think he can mix it in here. I've watched Shannon Ross's fights. You can go back to the Ashkan Makhachev fight now. If you know who Ashkan Makhachev is, if you've been around long enough, you know that L there is not a good look at all. And I know we're going back like 6, nearly 7 years now. Not a good look because he really did not pan out well in the UFC. Steve Airside, this is probably a guy that should be in the spot that Shannon Ross is, honestly. I think this guy would give Claydson a run for his money, in my honest opinion. I think that he's got an overall decent game. I think we'll probably see him in the UFC very, very soon. Like I say, that one there, I'm not really taking anything into that because Frilo is really not all that good. Yair Rodriguez, on the other hand, coming off that L to CJ Vergara, I thought he was really unlucky to kind of lose that fight. I thought he had an opportunity to do so. Overall, I like his game. I like his fast striking. I like his combination striking. Like I say, he's very, very quick. I think he's got a major speed advantage here over Shannon Ross. Now, I know they're both flyweights and both guys are quite quick, but I think that the chin of Shannon Ross, sits there. It's right there to be hit, to be peppered straight down the middle. I think he can be kicked. I think he can be taken down. He was minus 200 when I got on him. He was minus 188 at a book I don't use. So I was a little bit gutted there. I got minus 200. The line seems to be going that way. So it looks like I've got some nice closing line value there. But for me, this is probably, I think, my most confident pick of the card. But the way my picks have been going this year, my bets this year, that might just be the thing to maybe go ahead and kind of fade me with my confidence picks because my betting has not been great this year. I've had a bad start, but I chip away and I will get it, but I'll get back at it soon enough. For me, I've got Yair Rodriguez. I like him inside the distance here. I bet him at minus 200. I think he's my most confident pick probably in the entire card there. So Yair Rodriguez, ITD for me in that one there. This is another interesting fight. Josh Kulibao against Melsik Baghdasaryan. This was another one I came into. I was kind of leaning, without really watching anything, I was leaning on the Kulibao side. Then when you watch Melsik, there is a lot to like about that guy. Just a really fun, dynamic striker, really light feet, can put it together fairly well. And I think the more time this guy kind of gets to grow in the UFC, he can be a really, really good, solid fighter. But I actually think that Kulibao really starting to come into his own in the UFC. I actually I picked him in that fight there where he got absolutely steamrolled by Jalen Turner. But since then, I mean, 3 decent results. This was a decent one here where he was kind of losing the fight, but then got himself back into that with a big round in that fight there. This Nurdenbecken guy, he's been a little bit of a tough guy to kind of face. He came out there, won a nice decision, and then this one here against Sung Woo Choi, very kind of close fight. I thought he did enough to win. Did so in that there. Overall, I think he's a very, very solid fighter who's garnered a lot of confidence and is really moving himself forward in the UFC. As I say, Baghdasaryan, I'm a little bit... I'm not sure with this matchup because it is lined to pick him. It's -110 apiece. He is coming off this win against Bruno Souza, which I wasn't overly impressed with, if I'm being honest with you. This was a great finish there against Colin Anglin in the UFC's UFC one. And Dennis Bazooka, I think, is a fairly decent fighter himself, who I think one day we'll probably see him in the UFC, if not a pretty solid Bellator fighter maybe. But I can probably see him in the UFC. And he's had a couple of fights here. So this is his first fight in what? Coming on not far off a year and a half, like 14 to 16 months. So, yeah, I think I'm going to lean on the Baghdasaryan side. I like a little bit more what I see from him. If Kulibao had an inkling of like dominant grappling, I think I would probably take him here. But if this is going to be a stand-up affair, I think the more dynamic striking's coming there, the more substance striking is coming from Baghdasaryan. So I will take Baghdasaryan to win probably a pretty competitive decision in them two there. I think that, like I say, that could ultimately be a really, really close, good fight there. And yeah, I will lean on the Baghdasaryan side. But like I say, these pick'em lines I kind of need to stay away from because I'm not a good better once I kind of bet when I round those numbers, not unless I'm a lot more confident, but I'm not super confident in that pick there. Tyson Pedro against Modestas Bukauskas is up next. Really interesting fight here because I thought once Modestas kind of left the UFC, I was like, I very much doubt we will see him back in the UFC. He was coming off a pretty brutal injury in that Khalil Roundtree fight. But he's built himself back up, got 2 pretty decent fights back to back. This Chadwick one, I think he was definitely knocking the rust off that fight there. And because I think if he was in his pomp a little bit, I think he would stop Lee Chadwick, even though Lee Chadwick is a very kind of grizzled veteran of the UFC, the UK MMA scene. And then the Chuck Campbell win there. I bet Chuck Campbell in that one there. He was plus 230. And Modestas, he definitely didn't look as rusty as what he did in the previous fight. But like I say, this Modestas has not really had the greatest UFC run, knocked out there. Oleksiejczuk was a very close fight. He was a little bit unfortunate with. And then he was getting beat up there. Khalil Roundtree can do that sometimes though. But when you move over to the Tyson Pedro side, this guy, I'm never ever sure with Tyson Pedro. He's coming off 2 wins. Harry Hunsucker. I'm sorry, Tyson, like it's just not the best win at all. Ike Villanueva, it's not the greatest win either. When you look at his 2 L's there, Shogun 4 years ago, Ovin St. Preux. So those were guys at the time that they should be beating someone like Tyson Pedro. This line kind of opened up. It was a little bit crazy. There was like a plus 700 or plus 1,000, I think, on Tyson Pedro as well. A minus 1,000, plus 700 on the Bukauskas side. So if you get in Bukauskas at plus 700, good on you. Like you've got a ticket there where the line, like you say, it's plus 200 there. You've got an unbelievable closing line value. I don't know with this one. I think this one's relatively close. I think if I kind of like Pedro early, and I think Bukauskas late. I know he is coming in short notice here, but he's had 2 fights in the last 3 months, knocking that rust off after the injury. He is flying halfway across the world, if the other side of the world, pretty much there. I'm not confident in this pick, but I'm going to go Tyson Pedro. Actually, I don't know. Yeah, I'll go Tyson Pedro. No confidence though. I just think he might do enough there. He might be able to stop Bukauskas. I'm going to pick him. If I'm going to pick him, I think he has to. I don't envision him really coming out here and winning a 15-minute fight with him. It's just something that he really doesn't do. I mean, his wins are not great wins in the UFC, but wins are wins. I will go. Yeah, I will go Tyson Pedro to win that fight there. So, guys, we're in the main card. I'm going to jump into the chat just to say there's a couple of comments there, seeing what's going on here. Moy's Audio, as always, he's always one of the first guys to really come in here and leave a comment. Steve, hope you're well. Steve, is that Shane? Sorry, Shane Walmsley. Sorry, my site's not great. He's going with Tuhugov. Tiger Bomb MMA, how are you? I hope you're very, very well. Nice to see you back in here. Dangerous Bet, I agree with you. Look, been me from Shane. Ditto on the dog doo-doo. Jenkins is this week's Japanese corner. Interesting. Malarkey for Shane. What have we got here? The Japanese corner of the week needs to be a thing. Could be a thing. So yeah, let's get back into the card, guys. Where are we? We're on to the main card now, which, like I say, it's not the biggest main card you're ever going to see, but it's got some exciting scraps here, which I'm looking forward to kind of getting into a little bit. 205 division, light heavyweight division. We've got Jimmy Crute against Alonzo Menifield here, and yeah, this is another interesting fight here where I can kind of see this going two ways, because I think Jimmy Crute is a little bit breakable. I think you can. It's interesting because I think he's a super talented fighter, but I think he's got some frailties to his game that are really going to hold him back. That Anthony Smith fight there, like, he was, what I loved about the kid. The kid was not wanting to stop that fight. He was hobbling everywhere. His ankle was in bits. And he still wanted to continue the fight there, and was really, like I say, he just wanted to fight. He's just a scrapper. Then you come back against Jamal Hill, and Jamal Hill's the guy that's running that division at the minute, so that is not a bad loss whatsoever. He got caught with a beautiful hook, got put to sleep. Wins over Modestas, Bukauskas, like I just mentioned, he was on the card, and Marcelo Olecichuk. 2 good wins. Surkanov he lost to, that's not a good deal. Beat Paul Craig, that's a good win against the rank guy. I think he can do a bit of everything, but I do think he is very, very dangerous with his grappling on the ground. I think that's where predominantly he will want this fight to take place. I think he can have success against Alonzo Menifield down in there. But for me, I think that if he stands with Alonzo here, I think he's in big, big danger of catching a shot somewhere. And we've seen that he can be susceptible to hooks. We know that Alonso's coming off that win over Misha Surkanov, where the one thing that I've never liked with Alonso is just his mentality. I think that if he puts it all together like he has been these last two, you can't really count that fight as too much against Askar Mozarov. That wasn't a good win at all, really. It's but a win's a win. Not the great. This is that's a decision there where he kind of grinded out a little bit. That's something I think Jimmy Crute has to do here. Take this fight in the later part. I think if he was to predominantly get this guy in his back, I think he could beat him up with ground and pound, or find a submission. But I'm not confident in the Crute side. I feel like he should be the side, but for me, I'm actually going to pick Alonzo Menifield here. I think he's going to come out here, and I think he's going to catch Jimmy Crute getting too aggressive. I think the hand speed will be a little bit too much, and suckers that with the power. I'm actually going to pick Alonzo Menifield here, plus 190. Like I say, if I'm picking him, I should really be thinking about betting. But like I say, I've not had the greatest start to the year for my bets. So I'm kind of going to be a little bit more cautious. And I've got quite a lot of money down on Yair Rodriguez, honestly. But as a pick, I'm going to go with Alonzo Menifield here to really come out here and quiet the Aussies. And I think he's going to get a first-round stoppage. Like I say, I hope the UFC kind of keep Jimmy Crute about and maybe give him some easier type matchups, like your Tyson Pedro type matchups, if he can get some of those and kind of gain some confidence. Because I do think the guy, he's only 26, coming 27 soon. There's a lot to like about his game, and I think that Yeah, I like Alonzo Menifield here. He is going to be my pick. I'm going to take him via first round knockout as well in that one. Justin Tafa against Parker Porter. I'm going to go Parker Porter here. Like when I was watching Justin Tafa, outside of maybe sheer power, I'm like, how really is he favoured in this matchup? And I am seeing a lot of love. Parker Porter's getting a lot of kind of Twitter love that I've seen over the last couple of days since the end of the last fights. People are betting him, but I can see why they're betting him. I don't think I want to have my money on this fight. Again, he's an underdog. If I'm picking an underdog, then I should probably bet him. But I'm going to pick Parker Porter. Like I said, I think he's got multiple ways to kind of win in this fight. I think that he throws more output than Justin Tafa. I think he can grind Justin Tafa. I mean, that's not a bad deal there. That's not the worst bet, the worst loss in the world. But before that, Alan Bodo was never UFC caliber. Chase Sherman is kind of bordering that as well. So he's not got the greatest UFC wins, but I mean, 3 wins in the UFC is not a thing to be kind of sniffed at. Justin Tafa, like I say, outside of pure power, I think it's a shame his brother Junior Tafa was supposed to fight in this card, and he got pulled due to injury. But like I say, his win over Harry Hunsucker, beautiful head kick, can't take anything away from that there. I just like Parker Porter. I think he's got multiple ways to kind of win this fight for me. I see him kind of grinding it out a little bit and just using that weight, staying on top, maneuvering position, trying to find pair of positions, just hitting him with little tip-tap shots and kind of keep going forward and winning rounds through that. I don't think that he beats Tafa inside the distance. I think this could be one that kind of goes quite late, if not maybe a round 3 into a decision win there. But I'm going to pick Parker Porter. So another pick against the Aussies. That's not going to go down too well with the guys down under. This is a great fight. I'm looking forward to this fight a hell of a lot. Randy Rude Boy Brown against Jack Della Maddalena. Big step up. Big step up for Jack Della here, getting a main event, main card slot here. I do think it's a pretty big jump because as much as I love Danny Roberts, I think that he is kind of at the tail end of his career. But look at this, 3 first-round wins. This, I'm not reading too much of that. That was a short notice guy with a guy who's really fought nobody. But the finish was phenomenal. Ramzan Ameev is a guy who is very, very tough. And like I say, he's shown you in these 3 fights that he's got great striking, great selection of shots, can push you against the cage, and ultimately hit you with like fight-ending shots. Where you look at Randy Brown, he's got a lot to like. He's got a lot of length. He's got a lot of kind of diversity with his game. I honestly didn't think he was going to stick around the UFC at one point. I thought round about that Nico Price loss, I thought he might kind of go 1 or 2 ways. But when you look at that record there, with only 1 loss and against a ranked guy in Vicente Luque, it's not a bad look at all. The people that he should be beating, like these are tough fights. He is getting dropped in some of these fights. Chaos Williams, big power. Trinaldo is just a grizzled vet at this point. Jared Gooden is a solid pro as well, no longer in the UFC. Cowboy, that was a beautiful, like I say, a 1-arm rear naked choke there where if he gets the back, then you could have some problems there because he has got some length, those big legs going around your stomach. But I don't see the fight getting there. When the betting line dropped for this, I'm still seeing it to this day. People are betting Randy Brown off the number. And I'm one of those guys that if a number's off, I will bet. Like I bet Derek Lewis last week. Once that number started to go up past plus 200, not that it really worked out well because he got smoked, but I got a funny feeling. Like I said, I've never been huge on Jack Della Maddalena. There's people that are screaming this guy is a title contender. I kind of need to see a little bit more before I make that. This is why I'm looking forward to this fight because it's a big fight for Jack Della. And like I say, he's got the most gnarliest nose you've ever seen in your life as well, but it's like looks like it's already broken. But this is a massive fight in Australia for him, right before the 2 big title fights. Ultimately, I'm going to pick Jack Della Maddalena via knockout. I think that his diversity of shots and and just his aggression is massive. But he's got a step up here, a big step up in my opinion, against Randy Brown, who I think can cause him some problems. But this is, like I say, I'm going to pick Jack Della Maddalena for the win there. I think that he's going to get himself a big fight very, very soon in that welterweight division. He's one of the guys that is coming through there. But Jack Della is going to be my pick in that one there. So, guys, we're right before the co-main event. If you haven't already, just throw a like in the video. It'd be much, much appreciated. And like I said, I'm trying to get back into traction, get more views in the videos, and get more people watching again. This is a really good fight as well. And I've kind of got a definitive stance on this one here. We've got Yair Rodriguez against Josh Emmett for the interim UFC Featherweight Championship of the World. I've always been a fan of this guy. I don't know how you can't really be a fan of this guy. Outside the shenanigans in Mexico against Jeremy Stephens, that was kind of weak sauce in that one there. And Josh Emmett, I mean, he's got some of the most gnarliest knockouts in UFC history. One punch quitters that just put people out of their consciousness. And this guy is just one of the most diverse guys I've seen. One of the things that's really actually kind of annoyed me the last couple of days is people going on about this win here. Oh, he's getting a title fight off a fluke win. Look, he didn't come out there and look like wanted Brian Ortega to be injured. I thought Ortega was probably going to beat him in that one. I thought he was going to give him some trouble in that one. But injuries happen in the sport, and he was the kind of beneficiary of Ortega getting that there. For me, when I kind of look at this one here, I mean, that's not a bad day. I thought he gave Max Holloway everything he could. Max Holloway is the one kind of B in that division still, behind Volkanovski. But yeah, like I say, good win there over Jeremy Stephens. Chan Sung Jung, he was on his way to losing that fight. Let's not get that out there that he was going to lose that before that last second elbow from absolutely nowhere. Where you look at Josh Emmett, great split decision win. I actually thought Calvin Kattar got robbed a little bit there, in my opinion. I thought he should have won that fight. Dan Ige, that's a great win because I think Dan Ige is a top 10 guy, in my opinion. Shane Burgos, shame he's not in the UFC anymore, but he's collected the bag and went to PFL. Cannot hate him for that. Landed some massive shots on Shane Burgos and also absorbed some massive shots in that one there. So he's shown he's got a chin, he can take a shot, but ultimately he's going to look to put that right hand on you and really come out there and smash you with it. He is a kind of wrestler by trade, and he comes from Team Alpha Male, which predominantly are known for the wrestling. So he might come out here and look to maybe grapple a little bit with El Pantera. I think this guy is really in the prime spot of his career now. I don't know how old he is. He's 30 years old. I didn't even realize he was that old. Really, one of the most fun fighters, I think, in the UFC, and one of the most dangerous guys. To me, if he just avoids the right hand from... sorry, I've got the dog kind of coughing in the background here. I don't know what was going on with that. I've kind of got a feeling this is going to be the definitive performance of his career here, where he comes out here and looks like a championship caliber fighter and puts it all together and really puts it on Josh Emmett. I think that he's going to be too diverse. I think he's going to be right in the face of Josh Emmett. As long as he avoids those big power right hands, I really do think that he comes out there and puts on a definitive performance. And to me, I think this is going to be the biggest performance of his career. We've had some massive moments from him, like the head kick against File, that elbow, obviously, in that war with Chan Sung Jung, the fight with Max Holloway. The guy gives you something. He's diverse as they come. Dog's going at it again, so I can only apologise. I'm picking Yair Rodriguez. I don't know whether he stops him. I think that he's got all the tools in the world to do so. But I think he's going to come out here and put on a performance. I think he's going to put on an absolutely unbelievable performance and win the interim belt, and then give us a great fight, whoever the champion may be at 145, whether it's a rematch with Max, if he beats Arnold Allen, or Arnold Allen, whatever it may be, or Volk comes back down. Who knows? I'm going to pick Yair Rodriguez. I think this is his breakout performance, and minus 163. Do I bet it or not? I kind of missed the line at minus 150, but I may jump into that one there. And the main event of the night for the UFC Lightweight Championship of the World, we've got the champion Islam Makhachev facing the UFC Featherweight champion and Alexander Volkanovski for this lightweight strap. A really big matchup for the division. The 2 pound for pound guys in the sport, in my opinion. But for me, I'm seeing people... I've seen people say, why is Volkanovski even going in there with Makhachev? Why does he deserve to be in there? I'm like, dude, what the hell are you... What the hell are you talking about? This guy doesn't deserve to be in with Makhachev. Look at his lineage of work, like what he's did in the featherweight division and the wins he's got. I mean, he's got 3 wins against one of the best champions in the division's history. One of the most dangerous guys there. He dismantled him with ease in that fight. The Korean Zombie came through some adversity in that fight against Brian Ortega, where his head was going purple, stuck it out, stayed in there, won a massive, massive fight, beat the best guy in the division I think's ever seen in Jose Aldo, Chad Mendes, who at that time was a beast. 2018, right at the end of kind of that spell where he was having big fights with people, and he's like nothing but dominant in his UFC thing. He's been in the UFC for 6 years coming up, showing everything. I think the guy's got great feints. He's got like fight changing leg kicks. I think he's got really good striking, an amazing jab, can wrestle, super, super strong. And obviously that's what he's going to need in this fight, because he's against Islam Makhachev, the guy that's kind of been coming through for many years, Khabib's protege. I still think that's a thing here, that Khabib's not going to be in the corner. I'm interested to see how that kind of plays out, whether it makes a difference or not. 12-1 picking that guy there. I mean, it's hard to really fade this guy. I mean, and this fight here, he just rose to the occasion and absolutely destroyed Charles Oliveira with consummate ease and got the submission there in the second round. Also dropped him in that fight. Bobby Green, like I say, this guy is just a different beast once he gets this fight to the ground. Obviously, he's going to be the bigger guy in this spot here. Sorry, I've got the dog just doing stupid stuff over here. But yeah, like, and then Dan Hooker, like I say, once he kind of gets that dominant position where he can get an arm, get a neck, get something or another, then he's going to give you so much trouble. And he's like black belt. I think he's a black belt. These are good guys that he's submitting, so he's a finisher. I also think his striking's underrated. I really do think his striking's underrated. I think he's got a beautiful high kick. I think he can mix up his striking a little bit to go in there with his grappling. Like I say, if this guy gets a hold of you, he is going to take you to the ground. We have seen him taken down momentarily by like the Sarukian back in the day. I think Davy Ramos maybe actually got him as well momentarily, if my memory serves me right. And I think Volkanovski can have a little bit of success with his grappling. I just don't know whether that can be a thing that, if it was a straight grappling match, I do lean Islam Makhachev in this one, grappling-wise. Striking-wise, I think Volkanovski can give him fits. And I do think, I mean, his only loss in his UFC career is this year, first-round knockout against Adrian Martins way back in 2015. Is it really that long ago? That's unbelievable. So the guy can be hit. Anybody can be clipped with a big shot, and he's against one of the most elite fighters in the UFC. People who are writing this guy off, and there's numerous people that I've messaged him saying this is easy money. Now it could absolutely turn out to be easy money for Islam because he is such a talent. I just don't see it. I think Volkanovski is going to take. I think he's going to take rounds off him here, at least a round. And make this competitive. I think some of these rounds are going to be super close, super competitive. I think Volkanovski is going to rise to the occasion. But for me, it's really hard to pick against Islam Makhachev here, guys. So he is going to be my pick. I don't know how he gets it done. I think if he was to get a dominant position on the ground, I do think that he could find a finish. For me, the bet I'm kind of looking at is maybe Islam in rounds 4 or 5 in decision. I don't know what that is, if it's even out yet. If a bet was kind of be made in there, or maybe the over 145 division, over 4.5 rounds, I should say. Sorry. So Islam Makhachev is going to be the pick for me, guys. There, kind of liking a lot of favourites this week. There's a couple of underdogs that I've seen in the main card that I kind of like a little bit more. But to me, like I say, I think that this is a fairly decent card outside of a couple of fights at the bottom. But ultimately, I'm picking a couple of favourites in the big fights. I see some of you guys here talking about, let me see, be careful with Jenkins. Like I say, he's a guy I think is a good parlay piece, but it's maybe a fade on the Don Sheeness side, because like I said, I don't overly rate him super high, but Jenkins is, like I say, I think that he's got enough to kind of win this fight here. I'm very anti Yair, but I think he takes this one. Wayne Duggar, been a while. Good to see you, Will. Still the best in the game. Lots of good guys out here, and I'm just happy there's a lot more people that come out there and do these predictions, and a lot of good guys as well, good bettors as well. So watch Shakbula Abdullayev. As you've seen, Hadid game plan is done and new. Interesting. Volk is not the man to underestimate against anyone. Completely agree. So guys, that is my predictions for UFC 284. Thank you very much. I've been around here for 46 minutes, so a long-ass time. I appreciate you if you stuck around this long. I will have the timestamps very, very soon for you guys. Like I say, throw a like in the video. Let me know your favourite pick on the card. And we're back next week. I think it's... this might be... like there was people kind of shitting on the UFC last week for their card. Next week's... I think they've got... I don't mind the main event, but they've got like... Jordan Wright is the co-main event, which is a little bit crazy. So yeah, guys, until next week, I think my camera's been a little bit funny there, but until next week, guys, all the very, very best. Enjoy the card when it comes around, and take care. See you soon.